Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Sorry that I'm a little late. I said 12-ish Eastern time, and 20 minutes late was not quite part of the ish that I was looking for, but I am working and dealing with homeschooling kids and everything else, so time doesn't always go as perfectly as we expect when we make plans. So thank you for your grace. I will show up at some point each day, so it will be as close to noon as my schedule allows. But how are we doing today? I went to the store for the first time last night. Usually I get our groceries through Instacart or shipped, but it was getting complicated with all the substitutions and things being out, and it was texting back and forth with the shopper. I was just like, I'm just going to go and get it done myself. And so it was the first time I saw the empty shelves and there was no meat. Like, I texted my husband and was like, I guess we're going to be vegetarians because there's not much here. And I felt guilty because I had a cart crammed full of things, but my kids eat 45 times a day, so I had to take food that hopefully will last us a little while. But our state officially goes into shelter-in-place mode at midnight tonight. We've been sheltering in place in our house for 10 or 11 days, so nothing really will change. My husband's job is considered essential, so he still goes to work every day, at least for now, and I stay home and do my job and teach my children and try not to lose my mind. So that's part of why I'm coming on here every day to share different thoughts and tips and ideas, just because when I teach things and share things with others, it helps to remind me. So it's a win-win for everybody. But today I want to talk about managing and regulating our emotions. Everyone is feeling a lot of feelings and emotions lately. And many are feeling overwhelmed and out of control because of their emotions. You're just ruminating and thinking about, the panic and the anxiety and the fears and all of these things. And so emotion control is definitely something I think that all of us can benefit from. So the first thing I want you to remember, and I apologize for all that noise if you can hear my Slack is kind of blowing up, but that's what happens in a work day. So anyways, the first thing I want you to remember is that your emotions don't have to control you. You can control your emotions. They are within your power. So you get to use your brain to control the way that you feel. So when you begin to accept and believe that you have control here, it starts to empower you to feel better. So when you're feeling like I'm so anxious and I'm so stressed and all of these things, it puts your control on the situation, and the situation is not in control here. You get to have some control. So take back your control and just accept that you have some power here, and you can make some decisions that will help to improve the way that you're feeling. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that we suppress or bury or ignore our emotions, because that's not helpful at all. If we do, they tend to build up pressure. So if you're just pushing things down, eventually that's going to explode. And then you really will be out of control, and you won't have control there. So we don't want to ignore, we don't want to bury, we want to just notice and acknowledge our emotions. Whatever you're feeling right now is real and it's valid, and there's nothing wrong with those emotions that you're feeling. So just give yourself permission to feel whatever's coming up for you in this current situation. There's a lot of negative here, and it's okay to feel scared and to fear and to be anxious and to be stressed and all of those things. It's totally valid, it's totally real, and it's allowed. So I don't want you to shame yourself or beat yourself up. And maybe more importantly, don't have comparison. Don't compare your emotional situation to someone else's. Someone else might be panicking and you might be fine. Or maybe you're the one panicking and everyone else seems to be doing just fine in this situation. But their experience is not the same as yours. Their situation isn't the same as yours. So we're not trying to do a comparison here. We're just trying to accept that we have emotions and they are real, and you get to feel what you feel, and it's true for you. But with all that being said, you also have power here, and we want to remember that you can control your emotions and therefore change the way that you feel. So when we ruminate over negative emotions, that's where we start to feel powerless, and it's not helpful. When you feel anxiety and fear and worry and anger and frustration over things that you can't control, it's not serving you if that's just something that you're continually thinking about and ruminating on. So there are times that negative emotions are really helpful. they can motivate us to make good decisions. When you feel fear and you avoid walking into the path of a lion and go a different direction, that's really helpful. So negative emotions can be really helpful to help us to make better choices. When you feel fear of, getting someone that you love sick and it makes you stay home, that is really helpful. So I'm not saying that we should never think of negative emotions or that they're always bad. That's why it's okay to accept what you're feeling and feel it. But when we're buried in anxiety about things that we can't actually control, then it's not helpful. So if you're buried over the anxiety of other people aren't following the rules, or other people are making decisions that affect you, or all those things that are out of your control, then it's not actually helpful. And so what may be helpful instead is to focus on what you can control and focus on the good things of your experience. So acknowledge your emotions, and just like we talked about yesterday, consider if they're serving you or not. And if your emotions are not helping you to take steps to improve your situation in ways that you have control over, then we can stop ruminating about those emotions and instead focus on other things. One of my favorite Bible verses says, "Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise." Because God knows that ruminating and dwelling on negative things we can't control doesn't serve us. So instead, he invites us to focus on things that we can change and the things that are good. So when you notice yourself going into those thought spirals and dwelling and ruminating on the negative, take some time to pause and just acknowledge what you're feeling, acknowledge the thoughts that you're having, and take some deep breaths. And then purposely choose something good and lovely to focus on instead. You don't have to just keep focusing on the fear. You don't have to keep focusing on the things that make you anxious. You can focus on something else. So go find some funny cat videos on YouTube, or some silly memes if humor is helpful for you, or go outside and look for something beautiful. Take a minute to talk about silly jokes with your kids. Whatever you can do to shift your mindset to looking at something that is good and enjoyable and humorous and lively and fun. There's still plenty of good in the world that we can focus on. A couple other ideas for helping us with our emotions. There's some distancing techniques in the world of psychology that can help us regulate our emotions. So just like we practice social distancing, there's a couple other types of distancing. There's psychological distancing. And when this happens, it's when you're talking with a friend about a situation, or they're talking to you about their situation, some hard thing that they're going through, and telling you all of the emotions and all of their thoughts and all of that. You have psychological distance. You're not in the actual situation, so you can feel empathetic for them, and you can kind of understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling and those kinds of things, but you aren't actually there feeling the exact same things because you have psychological distance. And so in situations like this, psychological distance can be really helpful. Find someone that could have that psychological distance for you, that you can talk things over and vent, and they can give you that third party unbiased perspective of your situation, maybe give you some advice or hear the words that you're saying to kind of support you in that, or point out some inconsistencies or some things that you could think about instead. So find somebody that you can have that psychological distance with, and we're all going through this together, but that doesn't mean that everybody's going through the exact same experience. And so having somebody, that outside support, could help you. So that could be a friend, it could be a counselor, it could be a coach. There's a lot of counselors and coaches that are doing video conferencing now, so we can still get the support and help we need. The other type of distancing that I wanted to mention is temporal distancing. And this is a really helpful strategy because this is where we get to play some mental time travel. And remember that this is not permanent. We will overcome this. We have to remember that our world and our species has faced a global crisis before, many, and we've survived. We've been through global pandemics, and the world has continued on. The human race has continued on even through a global pandemic. Even, centuries ago when there weren't all the medical support that we have now. So we have been through global pandemics and global crisis before and survived as a species. It may not have happened in our lifetime, but it has happened. So let's take some time to imagine a better future. Use your brain to remember that this too shall pass, and focus on the hope that you can find in that. So I hope those ideas have been helpful for you today as we work to control the overwhelming emotions that a lot of us feel like we're buried in, and make some steps to kind of take control of those emotions and focus on things that are good. So the questions for the day, remember, take out some actual pen and paper and write down your thoughts about these questions. It gives you the most help. So the first one is, what emotions are coming up for you during this time? So just take the time to acknowledge what you're feeling, to recognize that it is true and it is real and it is okay. So what emotions are coming up for you? The second question is, make a list, it's kind of a statement, make a list of 10 things that are good and true and pleasing and lovely that you can meditate on when you find yourself ruminating on negative thoughts and emotions. So what are 10 things that are still good? 10 things that are happy or beautiful that you can focus on during this time when you find yourself ruminating on those negative things. The third one, what friend, counselor, or coach can you talk to when you're having a hard time distancing yourself from overwhelming emotions? So make sure that you've got somebody or some people identified that you can turn to for the support that you need. And then the fourth one, write out your best hopes and brightest vision for our better future. When this is all over, what do you dream of for our world and for your life? So place a mental time travel and create a beautiful vision of hope. So I hope that has been helpful for you, and I will be back on here tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.